Hi, this is Ms. Licon. We're going to be doing lesson 1.8, simplifying fractions using prime factoring. While we're simplifying, we're going to use two steps. We're going to prime factor the numerator and the denominator, and we're going to cancel out ones. So a 1 is when you see the same number in the numerator and the denominator. So for example, 5 over 5 is 1, 7 over 7 is 1, 2 over 2 is 1, 6 over 6 is 1, and 1 over 1 is 1. So the first example we're going to do is simplifying 6/10. So I'm going to take my numerator of 6, and I'm going to break down 6 into primes. So I know 6 is 3 times 2, and both 3 and 2 are prime. So I'm going to break down my numerator as 3 times 2, because 3 times 2 is 6, but 6 is now broken into primes. I'm going to do the same thing with my denominator. I'm going to take the number 10 and break down 10 into primes. 10 is 5 times 2, which are both prime. So instead of writing the number 10, I'm going to write that 10 is 5 times 2. So now I see a 1, I see a 2 over 2 that I'm going to cancel out. Once I'm done, now I see my final answer. In my numerator, I have a factor of 3. In my denominator, I have a factor of 5. So my simplified fraction is 3/5. Okay, so question number 2. So now I'm going to simplify 63 over 14. So first I'm going to prime factor 63. So I know 63 is 9 times 7. 7 is prime, so I'm going to circle it, but 9 is not. I'm going to break down 9 as 3 times 3. And both of these 3's are prime. So I'm going to write the number 63 as 3 times 3 times 7. So I'm going to do the same thing with the 14. I'm going to break down 14 into primes. 14 is 2 times 7. And 2 is prime and 7 is prime. So I'm going to write 14 as 2 times 7. So I see a 1. 7 over 7 is 1. I'm going to cancel those out. I don't see any other ones, so now I'm just going to multiply to get my final answer. In my numerator, I see 3 times 3, which is 9. And my denominator, I see a factor of 2. So my simplified fraction is 9 over 2. So I'm going to do another example. So we have 16 over 64. So we're going to break down 16 into primes. There's different ways to break down 16. I'm going to make my factor tree look similar, and I'm just going to do 4 times 4. So I can break down 4 as 2 times 2, which are both prime. I'm going to break down the other 4 as 2 times 2. And so I have 16 is 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. So I'm going to write that in my numerator. 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. Now I still have to break down my 64. So there's a lot of ways to break down 64, but I'm going to do 8 times 8. 8 is 4 times 2, and 2 is prime, but I still have to break down the 4 as 2 times 2. Okay, these are all prime, so I have to break down my other 8 as 2 times 4, and break down 4 again as 2 times 2. So 64 is 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. Now I'm going to cross out any ones. I see 2 over 2, which gives me a 1. I see another 1, another 1, and another 1. So now when I multiply this in my numerator, I have 1 times 1 times 1 times 1, which is 1. My denominator, I have 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 times 2, which gives me 4, because 2 times 2 is 4, and 4 times 1 just gives me a 1. Okay, so now we're going to move over to this one. We're going to do 2 more. 33 over 81. I'm going to break down 33 into primes. 33 is 3 times 11, which are both prime. So 33 is 3 times 11. I'm going to break down 81 as I can do 27 times 3, but I'm going to do 9 times 9. And then 9 is 3 times 3, which are both prime. And then 9 again is 3 times 3. So 81 is 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. I see a 1 that I can cancel. Now my numerator I have 1 times 11, or just an 11. In my denominator I have 1 times 3 times 3 times 3. 3 times 3 is 9, 9 times 3 is 27. And I have 11 over 27. Okay, last one we're going to do is 64 over 32. So I'm going to break down 64 as 8 times 8. And we already broke this number down, I think. Break down 8 is 4 times 2, and break down 4 is 2 times 2. I'm going to break this one down quickly because we already broke down 64 before. 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 is 64. 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 is 64. Now I still have to break down the number 32. I can do 16 times 2. I can do 4 times 8. I'm going to do 4 times 8. Break down 4 as 2 times 2. Break down 8 as 2 times 4. Break down 4 as 2 times 2. So 32 is 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. So I see a factor of 1 here. 1, 1, 2 over 2, another 1, and another 2 over 2, which gives me another 1. In my numerator, I have 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 times 2. In my denominator, 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 times 1, which gives me 1. And 2 divided by 1 gives me a final answer of 2. Okay, so I have 4 questions for you to try, and then when you're done trying them, you can check your answers in the text box below. So here are the 4 questions. Write them down, and then when you're finished, check your answers below.